Hello parents, welcome to our pre-recorded webinar giving you some information about starting kindergarten in 2022. My name is Miss Marcus and I will be one of the kindergarten teachers who will be possibly teaching your child next year. And with me today I have...
Hi, I'm Miss Johnson. I am also one of the kindergarten teachers and could possibly be teaching your child next year as well.
We're here today to give you some additional information about starting school at Denham Court Public School. So we hope you find all of this information useful and we'll get started.
Before we go any further, we would just like to acknowledge the Dharawal people who are the traditional custodians of this land and recognise their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to them and their culture and to elders both past and present, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and the hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples across the nation.
Okay, so like I mentioned, we are taking you on with us, coming with us to kindergarten. So we're going to just share some general information about what the early kindergarten will look like and things that you might want to expect leading up to transitioning into big school next year. So
students will be starting in early February through a staggered group approach. So groups will come in staggered just to have an ease of transition. Expect kindergarten students will have a later start and an earlier finish than the rest of the school. So the latest start will be at 9:30 and the earlier finish will be at 2:45. We will also be doing best start assessments. They will be taking place during the first few weeks of kindergarten. This is just an assessment for teachers to just understand where your child is at. There is absolutely no expectations for where your child should be at, just to give us some information about your child before we start teaching. We also encourage our parents to drop off your child and say your goodbyes promptly to allow the students time to settle in and develop independence in their new school.
Okay, so unpacking and packing bags. This is a skill that your child will be learning early in kindergarten. So part of unpacking will be taking out lunch boxes and drink bottles and placing them inside of their hub, which is where they will be kept throughout the day. We'd like it if you could make sure that all items that your child brings to school are labelled, and be mindful of some containers and lunch boxes, making sure that they're easy to use and easy for your child to access their food as well. At the end of the day, students will put all of their personal belongings back into their bags as part of our packing up routine. If students' belongings do go missing, we will make every effort to try and find the item. That's why it's really important for the items to be labelled so that we can return them to their owner as well.
This is just an example of a timetable of what a day in early kindergarten might look like. So for the morning session, students might engage in circle time where they just share knowledge about certain topics, then a crunch and sip followed by a toilet break. Students will also engage in phonological awareness or phonics or modelled reading. These are all things that will happen dependent on the day, and all of this we are going to let you know more about in a literacy webinar that's happening later on. For a middle session, students will also be looking into mathematics, either number or strand. They may engage in number talks or also engage in number group activities. Again, we are going to address the mathematics in a later webinar to give you some more information regarding that. For the afternoon session, we will be doing either play-based learning or project-based learning, where we will integrate other key learning areas such as science, technology, history, and geography. And we will also address this in a later webinar to give you some more information.
Okay, so during the early weeks of kindergarten, we'll be implementing lots of different activities and programs that will help your child develop their fine motor skills. So we'll be working on fine motor development through play activities, things like Play-Doh, Lego, threading, blocks, and other resources might be used where children can manipulate small objects with their hands and strengthen their fine motor development as well. Students will practice things like cutting, holding a pencil, and drawing pictures. And if you have a look at some of the images on the slide, you'll be able to see some examples of what that looks like. Also, during the first weeks of kindergarten, it's an important time for teachers and students to develop our learning hub expectations. So we'll be learning a range of different routines and expectations as well. So that includes things like using the toilets, lining up in class lines, handling their own food during eating time, listening while sitting on the floor, moving around the hub in a safe manner, packing up the hub and packing up their bags and unpacking their bags, being a good friend to others, and engaging in story times as well.
So for Crunch and Sip, students will have the opportunity to eat fresh fruit or vegetables at some point during the morning session. So students will learn to identify different foods, for example, their lunch foods, their recess foods, and their fruits and vegetables. They will also be able to stay hydrated throughout the day with their water bottle, and also recognize the importance of fruit and vegetables and how to keep our brains and bodies energized throughout a school day. And just on the right there's just a few examples of what a lunchbox might look like for your child.
Okay, so just a bit on bell times as well. So initially the students in kindergarten will need additional time to eat their food as part of our eating time. So they will be getting more extra time, longer than 10 minutes at this point. Things to consider for eating time: making sure the food packages that are packed in their lunchboxes are easy to handle, containers and utensils that are easy to use as well. Food will not be warmed up for students at school, so you might want to consider using a thermos if you want to make sure that your child is eating warm or cold food depending on what you have packed. Over here as well is our official Denham Court Public School bell times. So as you can see, the playground will open at 8:40 a.m. in the morning before school, where the children will have supervision from the teachers. And then we have our first break, which is our lunch break, at 11:10 to 11:20 is our eating times. But as I said earlier, kindergarten will have additional time to that to eat their food. And then they will go out into the playground to play for 30 minutes between 11:20 and 11:50. Then our second break, which is our recess break, will start at 1:40 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. That's just our eating time, but it will be a bit longer for kindergarten. And then our playground will open at 1:45 until 2:15 p.m. If our staggered playground approach continues into next year, depending on COVID guidelines, the break times may be a little bit different, but that more information about that will come to you as we find out how that will work.
Beautiful. So just in regards to feelings, so the first days of school will definitely be new and exciting, especially for our little learners and our families. So they may be tired at the end of a full school day. That's totally normal. But it is important to try and keep anxieties to a minimum and really surround this experience with lots of positive discussion. So just on the right there, first day feelings, it's really normal for your child to feel happy, worried, sad, or excited. So if your child feels any of these, please note that this is completely normal.
Okay, and finally on the screen you can see the early stage 1 resource list. So these are some of the resources that we will be utilizing in kindergarten. So if you could have that prepared, ready for the first few weeks of kindergarten. So we will need a plastic document wallet for things like home readers or homework, whiteboard markers, glue stick, plastic paint shirt. Please make sure it's labelled as well with your child's name. Headphones to use with iPads and computers also would be great to have that labelled with your child's name. And our waterproof library bag as well to make sure all our library books are protected when taken home. And finally, just a spare set of clothing to be kept in your child's bag, just in case any accidents do happen throughout the school day.
And that's it for our webinar today. So we can't wait to meet our future kindergarten students and meet all of you. We are so excited. Just a reminder as well that in regards to our literacy, our numeracy, and our play-based learning, is that there will be more information and more webinars to come out in the future regarding all of that to give you a bit more information. But otherwise, we hope we've answered some of your questions about the first day of school and what kindergarten might look like.